Hey everyone, it's Alan with 𝘴𝘶𝗡𝗠𝗏. Welcome back to another new video. In today's video, we are going to be restocking some Wanderlust candles. Now, if you are new to this blend, this utilizes my own custom wax blend of beeswax, soy, and cocoa cream. Now, the coconut wax I do get from Soper's Choice, and the beeswax I actually have linked below. It comes from Amazon. And then the soy wax you can just get from any candle wholesaler. So I'm just going ahead and measuring out all of my different fragrance oils. And if you did want the full recipe to all of these candles in the Wanderlust collection, check out my Patreon, which is linked down below. And it costs a few dollars per month, literally like the same as a cup of coffee from Starbucks every month. And you get all of my formulas that I've worked really hard on for a number of years and that I use for my own business. But this video goes over the whole process of making the candles. And what I like to do with this blend is add my fragrance oil in at about 185. And I like to stir for about 2 minutes. Now what I'm doing here is actually verifying the fill of my containers. I had these marked at 8.25 ounces, and the best way to verify your fill is to go ahead and just pour a candle right on a tiered scale. And I am just adding my warning labels to the bottom of these. I always like to do that before I pour the candles. It just makes things a lot easier after you're all done. And with the wood wicks, what I like to do is create a little template with a wick and then cut them all to the same size. And that's what you can see I've done here. And after I have gone ahead and poured the candles, I will still have to take a little bit more off of those wood wicks, but I have the majority of the cutting already done, and that definitely is going to save you some time later and make the whole process a lot easier. Now, one thing that I did do in this video that I haven't done before with these candles is you'll see after I pour them and then I wait for the wax to harden, I added the mica. And in my previous videos, I've usually done this in a separate step later. So I will put the candles away and add the mica later on. And I would say in general that I prefer to do it that way. Now, you may be asking, first of all, why do I even use mica? And the reason is for wood wick candles with my wax blend, and I would say some other wood wicks as well, you'll find that the wick can still get a little bit out of control with certain fragrances, and there's no way to tell you which fragrances those are going to be. You have to test them all one by one. There's not a simple formula to predict, but for certain fragrances, they just won't work. There's no better way I could put it. But some fragrances that are kind of on the border of working and not working, you're able to add a little bit of mica to and get the fragrance to work out. So the flame can just be a little bit high, but that tiny bit of mica will cause the flame to be kind of the perfect amount. Not all fragrances, but for some fragrances that are right on the border, this solution works really well with my wax blend. Now, if you are interested in what the blend is and why I formulated it, I will have my videos linked down below on that. I have a whole video talking about the pros and cons of this blend, but do keep in mind that it was formulated specifically for the Candle Science Astro Jar, which is what I'm using, and wooden wicks. So I haven't tested this blend out in any other areas besides that. Now, I like to pour these candles, I would say, pretty quickly after I have added the fragrance because the amount of beeswax is quite substantial. This blend has close to 20% beeswax, which is very high, and beeswax sets up really quickly. So I don't wait as long as I normally would when I used to use 464 by itself to pour these candles. I would say the temperature is probably between 155 and 165. Now, you will not get sinkholes with this wax blend. But if you pour immediately after you add the fragrance, you might. So if you are experiencing sinkholes, I would pour at a little bit of a cooler temperature, and then you should be able to totally avoid them with this wax blend. You can see the candles behind me have already set up, and I wouldn't call this a single pour blend, but I don't think that there's really many waxes that I would consider single pour. Maybe coconut apricot or CB2, but I typically use a heat gun on those waxes just because, as you guys have seen, if you've been here for any amount of time, I get really particular with the tops. So I do heat gun these, and I add the mica in a later step. But yeah, this restock will go live on the website on Friday, November 22nd at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. That's 11 Central, 10 Mountain, 9 Pacific. And I'm super excited. I have had a number of these candles out of stock for a really long time, and I've finally been able to get them restocked. Now, I will say the fragrances in this collection are some of my favorites that I have of all time. I worked extremely hard on getting fragrances that would throw really well and that would captivate what I was going for with this collection. It is inspired by culture, nature, architecture, and Zen. And the fragrances I feel like in this collection are some of the best ones that Earthglow has had throughout my whole 5.5 to 6 years in business. Now, as you can see here, I'm adding the mica immediately after, which, like I said earlier, I wouldn't do this again just because what usually ends up happening after you cut the wick to the final desired amount and then add the mica at the same time, it just causes the mica to become a little bit more mixed in than I would like. So I ended up pulling a number of these candles to discount. So that's kind of unfortunate. And I probably could just remove all that wax and then reheat gun it, but I just find that I don't like the look aesthetically as much doing it this way. Just because if you wait until you heat gun after you've already trimmed the remainder of the wick, you just get a little bit more of a contrast there, and that's the look that I like. Now, I don't add mica to all of these scents. As you can see, this Kathmandu candle does not have any mica at all on top of it, and that is because the fragrance doesn't need any in my testing. However, Prague, Tibet, and a number of my other Wanderlust candles do require differing amounts of this mica, and I have it all categorized in my formulas as to how much I add. I don't measure it out by the gram, but I mean, you'd virtually have nothing there. It's so light. But I do have sort of a different way of calculating how much I add to each one. And if you are subscribed to my Patreon, you will kind of see that in my formulas being notated. Now for these labels, I do print these myself, and I have a whole video on how I print black labels from home. It's really easy to do, and I'll have that video linked down below for you guys. These candles have an incredibly long burn time and strong scent throw, I would say, for a relatively small, like 8.25 ounce candle with 3-inch diameter. These can easily fill, I would say, a medium-sized room. I don't know that I'd put them in an open floor area because they are, I mean, a smaller candle, but I've heard people say that they do that and they can smell the scent pretty strong even in an open area of a house, which is kind of unheard of. This blend is 100% soy, coconut oil, and beeswax, so I'm quite impressed with how it's come out. Again, the fragrances are going to be very particular. You're going to have to test each one out, and I do recommend at least a 2-week cure time with this blend in particular. Now, most of the fragrances that I'm utilizing are coming from stone candles or 16, 17 scents that you can get from a number of other suppliers now. So they are kind of pretty expensive scents to begin with. But you know, you can definitely test out whatever you want with this blend and see what works for you. And I do find with these jars, using gloves definitely helps a lot to keep the smudging off of the jars. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This restock will go live on earthglow.com Friday, November 22nd at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. That's 11 Central, 10 Mountain, 9 Pacific. I'm super excited. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Thumbs up just lets me know that you're enjoying this content and you'd like to see more, and thumbs down lets me know that you want to see some other type of content. And I'm sending all of you peace, love, and light, and I'm wishing all of you happy candle making. I would like to take the time to thank my patrons for their incredible support.